All right, good evening. This is Penelope Flynn, one of your Blerdsassins Next Door, along with Sonia, Cranston, Otto, and Nikki, who is kind of jumping in with us on this glorious March 8th, 2025 edition of our show. And before we get started, let's talk a little about the weather. And Sonia, you ended up on the top center, so how's your weather in Rochester?
Get cold. Not as cold as last week, but still cold.
How cold?
30 degrees feels like 19.
Oh my God, it's cold.
Yeah, and the fun part is next week this time, it's supposed to be 60 at at
Wow.
9 o'clock at night. Yeah.
But
Wow.
Sonia did that wrong though, because you
What?
said
Huh?
she said it's cold. You said how cold is it, Sonia? And then you got to say the joke.
I'm not. No, no, no.
It's so
I'm not.
cold.
I'm not doing a match game thing. No.
It's so
All right.
cold that
Okay. It is
It's
so
so cold. I'm
cold.
still wearing my hat, and I've been in
All
the house
right.
for
All
an
right.
hour.
Wow. Okay. All right. And how about you, Otto? How's the weather?
it's the best of both worlds. It was like kind of chilly and rainy and
Hmm.
overcast, but not too cold. Like 50 degrees. I love that kind of weather.
Yeah, but wet.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this I'm not so much for the wet when it's cold. That damp chill I'm not too fond of, but it gets better than some of the other options, so I'm not
Yeah, I
gonna
like that
complain.
Pacific Northwest weather.
I'm not gonna complain. All right. And how about you, Nikki? Are you getting that nice sunny South Florida weather?
It was in the 70s here today.
You did get the sunny South Florida weather. Wow. I'm jealous of that.
And it's 74 now.
Wow. Wow. You got good weather. Congratulations. You must have done something right.
Yeah, I'll be leaving next week. That's why.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that, bring the good weather with you.
But you're
I'll
going
bring
to a
it with
better
me.
place. She's leaving us, but she's going to a
Going
Okay.
better.
to going to a
She's
better
going to the
place. She's
upper
going to an
room.
Atlanta.
Okay, there we go. Okay, and how about you, Cranston? Did you get good weather, bad weather?
It
Same?
was it was fairly good. It was in the 70s most of the days, but then it would drop rapidly after like 5 o'clock, and we would
Wow.
get down to the 40s in some nights, and so it was still chilly. The thing was that everybody was talking about how nice it was outdoors, but they were freezing in their houses. So
Get that. And you know what? The thing is, I like it when it's a little chillier at night because you get home, you get under your blankets, and you get warm. I just don't like it to be that way when I have to get out in it. So, you
yeah.
know, y'all got kind of like you got that good weather, warmer during the day and chillier at night. I think that's a good
Yeah.
setup
And
for
by the
it.
way, Penelope, you
Hmm.
cannot rely on meteorologists.
No, you cannot, because they have no idea what they're talking about. I
Well,
mean,
see
my goodness.
the
Our
city.
weather, yeah, we had some really crazy weather this past week. We were, sitting around minding our own business, and all of a sudden you hear the wind pick up. Like, huh, that's interesting. Since no one told us about any wind picking up, then the tornado warning sirens start going off. And like, okay, well, this is interesting since nobody told us about this. So we have to do the tornado drill with going downstairs, the downstairs hallway because that's the only place that doesn't have any windows. And listening to the weather report, and basically, I mean, they were seeing these high winds, but they weren't tornado, but they're like gale force almost winds, but just straight flow of wind, no twisting, so that it's
There was a
it
wind
gets
that was
crazy.
there was a wind that was 110 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
like
so it's
hurricane
like yeah, that's
velocity.
right. It's like gale force winds. Yeah, and things, but
Yeah.
nobody told us it was coming. I mean, we're just walking around minding our own business, and oh yeah, by the way, kind of weather. So they didn't say anything. And then they said, okay, with this band of weather, and it's crossing over, and then like in the next 20 minutes, half an hour, it's going to pass you, and everything is going to be a okay because the rain is in front. Then they have these winds, but they all pass, you'll be fine. Great, and pass by, and the weather calm down, and you go into the rest of the day, and then come almost nightfall, they're going, Oh yeah, by the way, that stuff's happening again. I'll say so all day. Nobody said anything, telling you that this bad weather was coming through again, and in the wind, like you feel like your whole roof is gonna just lift off. I mean, it just
And we
it was
lost so many shingles,
yeah. I mean,
and
but
it's like the weather's like FanDuel. It's like it's gambling. You don't know what's going to happen from day to day,
they
hour
wanted
to
they
hour.
yeah
Yeah, we were fortunate. Our weathercasters did. We got the same kind of wind, and our weathercasters actually did predict it.
yeah
And one came close. He said, "But it's going to bring up because it's coming from the west. It's going to bring up some warm weather." And it got almost 60 degrees here on Wednesday, and then
well,
went right back down to 20.
yeah. Well, so our things that did that too got a little warmer, and then it dropped back down. But then the thing that was crazy is that they didn't say, okay, well, there's one band that's coming through, but be careful, don't let your guard down because there's another band that's coming through behind it. No, no, no. We just find out. Oh yeah, by the way, that when you're hearing, yeah, that's another. Well, I hear it now. You have to tell me now. I should hear it myself. But yeah, I mean, it was.
Well, let me ask you this. I've been for the Northeast. This is the first place I've ever been that had sirens when there's like weather events. Do
Mm-hmm.
other cities experience that, like sirens? That the city has siren alerts for weather.
From what I hear, Kansas and Oklahoma do.
In
Yeah,
South Florida, do they have?
Hmm.
places with tornadoes, they'll do that, but everything else, it's just kind of like they'll warn you. I was going to say
Because you should know, like for hurricanes, way in advance, generally,
Yeah.
then you
well,
know it's coming.
yeah, and fortunately now when they tell people to evacuate, they're doing it.
Hmm.
They might do the sirens in like California with the wildfires or something like that, but for most weather, you just kind of know when it's coming. And the thing about doing the weather is that nobody remembers what you said yesterday. You just start with the weather today is going to be, and it's like it never happened. Nobody
Yeah,
holds you forward
well,
to
yeah.
whatever you
I like
predicted
your
yesterday that didn't happen.
just like you're saying, Cranston. I want them to start the weather with, okay, we really apologize for
Mhm.
that the mess up we did yesterday, but today is a new day.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We got it this time.
acknowledge at least acknowledge it,
Yeah,
right?
acknowledge the fact that you didn't give us the proper information. But
Mhm.
now that, like you said, they act like it just never happened. Just
Yeah.
keep, it's a new day. Just all that was in the past. We're not gonna look at the past anymore. We're just gonna keep moving forward.
Do they have
All right.
sirens? Do they have sirens in South Florida?
I do not recall us having any. But something tells me that there may have been, but I just don't recall it. I don't.
It seems like
I,
they should,
that
though,
emergency
right?
broadcast system stuff, we might have had that, but I don't think we had storm ones. I think that this is a test of the emergency broadcast system thing, and they
Yeah.
would do the thing on your television that beep, and sometimes I think they had sirens for that. But other than that, no. But I do remember when I was in college, and there was a weather event that I don't think there were sirens here back then. I remember people coming down the road in those vans with the megaphone things,
Yeah.
and they were doing the public message, like driving down the street telling people what to do. I don't think there were any of the big
Sirens.
sirens that they have now.
When I heard the
Well,
siren, first time I heard the sirens here, it scared the crap out of me because not only does it play, does it alarm when there's a weather event, they test it every Wednesday at noon.
Yeah, yeah.
well,
But
in
they
Florida,
did that here, yeah.
in Florida now, the thing is, it's it's so systematic until they start tracking storms way out in the Atlantic when it's like off in the Bahamas and off Puerto Rico and all those places. And they have so many tracks showing where they think it's going and everything until you are acutely aware of where the storm is going to be and what the chances are of it hitting you. So they don't have to put the sirens up because they know that they're
Yep.
going to
Hmm.
hit you every 3 seconds with the alerts coming. When they really get to to bring it out and stuff. They will stay on like 24 hours with storm tracks and things like that. And they will report weather coming in places that are nowhere near where you live, as if it is going to be. So you said it's going to come here, and this is going to do this, and this kind of rains over on the in Mississippi coming this way. I said, wait a minute, that's how far away that is. So
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
you never know, right? You never know.
And
They've
and
gotten
people,
wider. I was
people
gonna say
in
that.
trailer parks.
Mhm.
People in
Yeah,
trailer park always get it.
Mm-hmm.
the storms are getting wider and wider, so something hitting Mississippi can hit Florida now.
mhm.
Unless you're Donald Trump, and then it looks like some sort of veering off.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of these incidents that can cause mayhem. We slide kind of, well, not exactly neatly into, but the issue of medical films and television, because you'd have to go to a hospital if you get injured in a, well, never mind. Okay. Now, there are so many, just like there's so many legal television shows and films, we also have a bevy of medical television shows and films. And we start thinking about those things, not just, generally thinking of the shows, but how many of these shows, kind of feature people of color or failed to feature people of color, as some of them did. And whether, you had a good television experience, or film experience, with this medical shows. And I think we go all the way back to when we were kids. I think the first medical shows I remember are like, what is the one called?
No,
Medical Center and
before we
Marcus what's that? Marcus Welby?
before we were kids,
Oh
or when we
God.
were kids?
No, I mean
Before
the
we
things that
kids.
I remember seeing. These are things I remember seeing when I was a kid. It was Marcus Welby, MD, and I think it's called Medical Center, wasn't it?
Yeah,
An
medical
emergency.
Or is it no Medical Center? Emergency was the paramedics. Y'all
But you
remember
have to
Medical
go.
Center? Chad, what's his name? Chad
Yeah,
Everett?
Ted Everett.
Yeah, it's Medical Center.
But
So
for
those,
those of us who are a little older, medical shows could go all the way back to, I think, the first one, which was Richard Chamberlain and Dr. Kildare.
Kildare.
oh, I did not ever see that until I was an adult, and I'm saying probably my 40s.
Nick at
And
Night.
and yeah, reruns. I've never seen it until then.
But
Very interesting.
that was a movie series too, right? Dr. Kildare.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
was a movie series. Yeah,
a TV series and a movie series.
and a movie series. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that. You learn something new every day. I did not know that was all.
The
Well, I knew
movie
it was
series
television
was
stuff.
first. The movie
Mhm.
series was first, and then the television series came
I
second.
had no idea. You learn something new every day. Wow. Okay. So for you all, I know you're saying these shows, but what are the first ones you actually remember watching? And I'm not talking about General Hospital because I don't think that counts. We're gonna remove daytime soaps
For
because
me,
every
for
daytime
me,
soap is a hospital thing. So we're gonna remove
yeah,
those from the equation.
for me, Penelope, I didn't watch any of them because,
Hmm.
as a kid, I thought they were boring. I mean,
Hmm.
the people are sick with these diseases, and a whole lot of jibber jabber talking.
Hmm.
But the first real medical series I ever watched
Hmm.
was Saint Elsewhere.
Yeah, I was saying elsewhere. I watched too, but you never watched any when you were really young.
No, why would I
No,
be interested in
I mean,
that? No.
it's not whether you're interested; it's whether or not your mom and your aunts were interested in it, and you were a hostage
Our viewing
had
habits did
to
not
watch it with
merge.
them.
Yeah,
Hence knowing Dr. Kildare.
Yeah,
my
yeah,
my
she's
viewing habits
hostage.
did not merge with adults' viewing habits. No.
Okay, how about you, Nikki? Do you remember watching any of those medical shows as a kid?
Uh-uh.
Not one.
Not a one.
You don't
Not
remember
even
Marcus
Julia.
Julia,
Oh,
yeah, she was
well,
a
wait a
nurse.
minute, wait a minute, wait. That was in the background, and I saw a black woman in a nurse's outfit, so I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, she was a nurse,
Mm.
and yeah,
But
so
I guess
Julia.
is that considered medical doctor thing?
Well, I mean, they didn't go into the surgical salon, but it certainly was, a doctor's office, right?
The hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
know
yeah.
that Diane Carroll looked fabulous. I mean, that was on, and I wasn't interested in it because it's like adult stuff.
Right.
But every time her son was on, I kind of
Corey, yeah.
listened. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of listened, but he didn't
Yeah.
sound like a real. He didn't sound like a real kid, so I wasn't interested.
Mhm. All right. But I mean, but still, you did, glance at it, as you
Yes,
crossed, through the rooms. Ah, there, the
yes,
Julia show is on.
yep.
And I mean, I'm trying to think
Mhm.
when we were children, were there any doctor shows that were in the black community?
No,
I can't think of any,
Right, Cranston said that fast. He's
but
like,
he
no.
sure did.
no.
No.
There were no black patients. There were no black medical workers. There were no
But I
black
mean, but wait,
That's
wait,
ambulances.
wait.
why. But
But what about and things like the show you like? Amos and Andy. They had black doctors and black patients and
They had
black
black
hospitals.
everybody on Amos and
Yeah,
Andy.
and Amos and Andy, they did have them. I
But
don't. I mean,
it wasn't a theme. It wasn't a
it
medical
wasn't a
theme
theme. It
show.
was a
No,
doctor themed show,
right.
but they
Well,
did have doctors and patients and people who were black people that showed black doctors on television.
well,
Yeah.
there's a this this was a thing. This is on from of course our good friend Wikipedia with a list of medical shows, and the other one we all forgot that ran alongside. There was a companion piece completely to Dr. Kildare was Ben Casey.
oh
And
yeah,
who was that guy? Because I saw Ben Case.
Vince Edwards.
Birds.
Yeah, because one of them seemed to look to be a little bit on the Semitic side. Which one was that?
That would be Ben Kent.
Vince
Ben Casey,
Edwards.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Vince
Yeah,
Edwards. Yeah.
because
yeah.
Kildare was blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Richard
Yeah.
Chamberlain was a stereotypical white doctor who knew everything.
And the funny
And then
thing
Vince
Okay.
is,
Edwards.
I now realize when we say Dr. Kildare that what I was thinking of was Dr. Ben Casey because apparently I've never seen Dr. Kildare.
You never seen Richard Chamberlain?
No, I know who Richard Chamberlain is, and I know I have never seen him in a doctor show. So I've
and
never seen that show.
and the interesting thing
I've
is
seen
that
Ben
both
Casey.
Kildare and Ben Casey ran from 1961 to 1966.
You know
Wow.
what? Excuse
Hmm.
me, everybody.
Uh
There is a show, Quincy.
huh. Oh yeah, I loved Quincy.
That's not medical though.
It is the ME.
Yes,
He's a
it
medical
He's
is.
Right.
dead. I mean,
Medical
he's dead.
forensics, but it's medical
medical examiner.
forensics.
Yeah, right. I loved that show. I loved Quincy.
Now,
That was a good show. I mean that for kids, I think especially you think, wow, there's so many different types of things that touch on the medical field that you didn't even
Well, as a kid,
realize.
are you
And that's
telling me,
wonderful.
Nikki, as a kid, you watched that show?
well, when I was at piano lessons waiting for Nadine to finish, I was watching Quincy.
Yay,
Wow,
Quincy!
wow.
Woohoo! I'm gonna tell you when I liked that show when I was a kid, and now you think about it, you say Quincy, and that's like made. I
That's the
don't
name
know.
of the show.
Well, with that show, I said, but I think it's some other show. I was thinking about just when you're saying something's run alongside another show,
Yeah.
and it went in and out of my head. But I'm sure I'll figure it out. But I do remember what's the show? Chicago Hope came
You
out.
watched that?
No, because it was around the same time as St.
St.
Elsewhere, right?
Elsewhere.
And my mind can only accommodate one medical show at a time. So no, I didn't watch anything when St. Elsewhere was on. And then when St. Elsewhere finished, I watched what was the other one called? The one that
ER.
yeah, that one, ER. I watched
Which
ER.
ER? The
The
comedy or the drama?
the drama ER.
What
The
comedy?
comedy was there was a comedy one, half hour one, also starring George Clooney. Before the series,
I didn't
Never
know that.
never saw it
which
before.
my mother said was actually more accurate than the drama.
Really?
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know there was a comedy.
Me either. That's the first time hearing this in my entire life. And I would say that if anybody's listening and they want to chime in, jump on in and post your comments, regarding the medical shows that you have watched and liked or not particularly liked. I think, in fact, none of us, we are not in the medical profession, but I can only imagine people who are in the medical profession when you watch these shows and people say and do things that are completely wrong that you grit your teeth and it's oh no, not that again. And I know It has
Excuse
happened.
me,
Yes, yes.
did anybody say Dr. Welby?
Oh,
No,
Dr. Marcus
Marcus. I did.
Welby.
I said Marcus Welby. Marcus Welby,
I
MD. That's one of the
well,
first ones
but
that
that's a
I
show
ever
I
saw.
knew.
Hmm.
That's a show I knew it existed, but once again, aunts and mothers watched it. I had no interest in it,
Yeah, but
but
that's
I
one of the
knew it
first
was
shows
there.
I watched.
There
Hmm.
was one medical show that we've just jumped over altogether from Dr. Kildare and Ben Casey to St. Elsewhere in ER,
Uh
and
huh.
that's one that everybody watched, and that was MASH.
Yeah.
Of course, we all watch MASH. I think we almost all watch MASH,
No,
and
no,
yeah,
I mean,
I
no, I
did.
mean, I watch a lot more MASH now than I did back in the day. I wasn't
Well,
interested.
things I watched it back in the day, but I understand it more now. Also, my point of view has changed about MASH now.
Yeah.
When I
How
was
so?
young, well, when I was young and I watched it, Hawkeye and Pierce, doing their little things and being very, self-righteous and stuff. And now I look at it and I think sometimes, boy, what a bunch of puerile jackasses. Some of the things that they did, and in some sense, yes, the more serious ones, I I still like, but some of the things they did to Frank or to Charles, sometimes that stuff is really kind of childish. And the one thing that Otto and I talked about was the fact that in the first season of MASH, the third doctor, his fourth doctor in that suite was a black guy. You all remember that? That there was a black
Yep.
doctor.
And
And
an awful name from the movie
mhm,
because MASH was the movie first, right? It
that's
was a movie.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
they
Spear
use it
Chucker Jones.
pejorative, yeah, Spirit Chucker Jones, for that, and people didn't think one thing wrong with that, I guess.
Including Spear Chucker, apparently.
No, yeah, I guess who can what can he say, But
Well,
I
other
mean, that's the
than,
thing, these puerile frat boy um concepts of life, and that they get to call someone that, that they think
yeah,
that that's a okay for them to do that. And the problem with the show was that that guy was on and everything's fine, but then someone within the production staff, the network said, but there were no black doctors during the Korean War.
They did research.
The research saying there was no doctors in the Korean War. And
Black.
so, all the, heads in the room shake their heads, oh yes, obviously it must be true. There were no black doctors in the Korean War. So they cut that guy's character. And also the black woman who was his love interest, the nurse, was also cut.
And it
So,
was totally untrue.
50, yeah, 40 years later, like that's totally, yeah, exactly, totally untrue. There were black doctors
hmm well,
operating
the other
war,
sad
and
thing
it was
about
just a
that
lie.
is the other sad thing about that is that one of the showrunners for MASH was Thad Mumford, who was black.
Hmm.
Which serves my point as meaning absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
Because yeah, just because you
Absolutely
have black
nothing.
people in the room does
Means
not mean
absolutely nothing.
absolutely nothing.
Because so many of those people are trying to keep their jobs and they put them there as window dressing so they can say, well, we ran it by Joe and he said it was okay.
Or he
Well,
didn't say
they didn't say
anything.
jack to Joe.
Or he
But
didn't
what's
say
he gonna
anything.
say? What can he do?
Well,
He never
you know,
knew.
it's like the guy that we called about the racist cartoons.
Yep.
And we said, and the white guy told us he didn't think the cartoons were racist because he had a black guy, to work right with them elbow to elbow. He never said anything about it.
He didn't say anything about it. I don't, I don't know.
So
I don't know that guy.
must mean it's okay.
Yes, it must be okay because that guy's sitting there thinking if I say something about it, I could lose my job if I make a complaint. So for the complaint to come from the guy internally, to have an expectation that it would come from the guy internally was ridiculous.
I think
It's
Thad probably wanted. I think Thad wanted to keep his job, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and then number two. I don't remember. Do you remember them ever calling him Spear Chucker in the show?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes, I do. I watched the show and I was listening and I was like, oh my God, they actually said it in the show. I was so shocked.
But people don't remember. People don't remember this, but back in the late '70s, early '80s, that word was a placeholder from the N word.
Yeah, that was some of their favorite
White people don't use it
white
as
words
much now.
they
They
like.
don't use it as
Yeah,
much now. No, they don't use
right.
it. I don't use it at all. Probably, I don't hear it at all.
Yeah, I mean, well,
But
because one of the things I think, if you think about it, something like MASH, and they use that terminology, and people become desensitized to it. So if they say it and it doesn't cause you distress or trauma, then what's the use of using that word? You know, they find another one, hopefully, that will cause you more distress and traumas. Um,
plus the black guy on MASH, the Fred Williamson in the movie, and I think Tim Brown in the show. They allowed themselves to be called
I
that
didn't
name.
think
So
Fred Wilson didn't play that role in the film, did he?
Fred Williamson,
Yep, that was Fred
Wow.
Williamson.
And
Yeah.
he let that happen?
yeah, he was Spear Chucker.
I guess they said, well, that's the name you had in the book.
Yep, and the movie and the show,
Hmm.
but he couldn't be on the show. And I don't remember any other black doctors throughout that show
No, other than
after
him.
Tim. Yeah,
I mean, you'd
No,
have to go. I don't recall ever being another doctor in the show.
they did have a couple of nurses in the background
Yeah.
who most of the times didn't get lines, but sometimes there's that substitution thing. So they did have I think she was Hawaiian, and so she got
Korean,
most of
that
them.
woman?
Yeah, that she counted as getting most of the lines for the minority quotient, and occasionally they would have a black Jeep driver or a black helicopter pilot or black somebody who was just passing through, but
Yeah,
and the Asian nurse
yeah.
was never a love interest, which is also not probably a lie from reality because there
Yeah,
would be so many men after her.
yeah. And but still, everyone the thing was with the Hot Lips Houlihan was supposed to be, but they had a lot of the Anglo women who were, love interests throughout the show. And I mean, they didn't have that many, women of color at all. So, what do you expect?
Yeah,
But
MASH wasn't
uh,
my thing because
mhm.
to me it was a mashup. It was a mashup of two themes of shows that I did not like as a kid. One was army shows, I didn't like them, and the second was medical shows.
Mhm.
So they put it together, and my head twisted around like Linda Blair's head, and I didn't want to watch any of that.
but the
All
one
right.
good thing they did was something that some other shows followed suit with later, and it was a great decision on their part that for all of the wisecracking and everything that BJ and Hawkeye and
Trap.
Papa
Trapper
John
John.
did, is they never did that during the surgical sequences.
But that's the deal that they made, and that's why they they did not want to have the laugh track, but they could not um get them to dispense with it. So that was a deal that they would do this. Most of their scenes, their serious scenes that they thought were serious scenes, they would do them in surgery so that they couldn't put a laugh track on it.
Which is kind of funny because in a show like The Odd Couple, they started off in the first season with a laugh track, and Tony Randall and Jack Klugman objected so much
Hmm.
that they used a live audience after that.
Yeah.
But I guess you can't do a live audience in a MASH show.
Nah, that type of thing. But boy, it I think it makes a difference having a studio audience as opposed to the laugh track, but that's another show. But in this thing with regarding the medical, I mean, how many people? I mean, as we go along, like we start out, most of us saying we're not too fond of the medical shows, but by the time Saint Elsewhere came out, did everyone here actually watch Saint Elsewhere?
Yeah.
I did
I did.
religiously because
Sonia, you're
it's,
like, no, no.
Nope. It was up against something I can't remember what, but
well,
Boy,
you
that
know
was
what?
very important. You can't remember what, but go
I
ahead.
can't. Yeah, I can't remember what. At the time, it was important, but that and I grew up in. My mom was a nurse. I grew up practically in the hospital.
So that was an
So
entertainment.
yeah, it wasn't entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't. We watched Dr. Kildare because of Richard Chamberlain.
Mhm.
Some other shows we watched, Julia because of its significance, but I don't every time I would turn on, the only show I remember my mom watching religiously for medical was ER.
Mm.
And I couldn't decipher if that was because it was Clooney or not.
So did you all watch like these like Medical Center or what's the other one?
Yeah, I got to see
It's an
those,
Emergency. Did you
but
all watch Emergency, the one of the paramedics?
yes, because she didn't follow paramedics as much. So, and my grandmother was also a nurse. So, both of them going back and forth. No, that's not right. I was like, just like, I don't want to, guys. I'm gonna most of the show. All I'm gonna hear is like, well,
Well,
that would never happen.
well,
Well,
you
that
never
would never
know.
happen.
You never know what's going to happen because you watch Saint. I watched Saint Elsewhere because it was during my college years, and I wanted to be a doctor. And Denzel was a doctor, so I wanted to know. I wanted to see how a black doctor is supposed to
Yeah.
act and what they're supposed to be and what school they're supposed to go to. Like Denzel went to Yale medical school and all that. So it's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is my plan. I have no idea about all the other stuff I had to do, but
No, couldn't watch any of them until they both retired. Because
Hmm.
by that time they didn't care what might have happened. So
But I think that it's St. Elsewhere actually ran after, because I think St. Elsewhere didn't start till we
in the
were.
80s,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no, no. Yeah, we were in college. I guess I was in college.
yeah,
My
it was
senior year,
while we
junior
were in
year.
college.
Oh, I'll tell you why. For me, I didn't have a television when
Well,
I
you
was a
can't
freshman
watch. Then
and
you can't
sophomore,
watch it then.
so I didn't see St. Elsewhere until probably when my last year in college that
Yeah,
I started watching.
St. Elsewhere ran from 82 to 88.
Yep, that's a
Yeah,
right in the middle of my college year.
right. Because yeah, college and post grad years.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna see how doctors and it affected me a lot because Denzel was serious, and I remember Denzel. I don't know if you got well, if you didn't watch the show, I don't know, but Denzel was dating this woman, and
Hmm.
she didn't like him. She wanted to go out with Luther, the
Orderly.
orderly, because he was more fun.
Well, she was a candy striper, so what do you
She was a
expect?
candy trap, but still, it's like there's a black woman on the show, and Denzel would like to have dated her, but
Hmm.
Denzel was too serious for her, and it was like,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And so, but I mean, the first time I watched the show, it was really good. But then the second time I watched the show, and we do that, watch the entire series all over again, I did not realize that the entire time that he hated being a doctor. I did not get that the first time through because he was so competitive and driven. I didn't realize that he didn't like it, that all he was doing is that his older brother, I believe, had been killed in the service. And his brother was the one that the father, was the father's primary child. His heart and soul went into the older son. And so Dr. Chandler, our hero, is going through medical school and becomes head
Yeah,
resident, all this stuff, just to have his father recognize him and laud him or just accept him.
there's a
And
there's a there's a lot of black families
mhm,
that push their children into the professions.
yeah,
You got to have this. You got to have a lawyer, a
hmm,
doctor, a
yeah,
this, a that,
yeah,
and I think a lot of white people don't know that, and I think that was an interesting backstory for him.
yeah. And the fact that he didn't really want to do it, it's that his father wanted his older brother to do it, and
He
so
got
he felt
killed. Yeah,
compelled to do it. And I didn't really realize that till the second time I watched the show.
me either.
That Dr. Chandler did not really want to be a doctor,
Yeah,
even though he was the best one at it,
yeah,
that he really didn't want to do it.
yeah.
All he wanted to do was impress his dad.
But the great thing about Saint Elsewhere, and if you haven't seen it, I encourage people to watch the entire series,
Mhm.
is because number one, it's a show about sh- shows that show people struggling.
Yes.
It's not like Dr. Kildare, not like Dr. Ben Casey, or it's not like Dr. Welby, or you
Hmm.
know, people got everything together. They can't do any wrong.
Right.
They do everything perfectly. Their hair is perfect. They're
Hmm.
not struggling. They're not worried about failing. and St. Elsewhere included all of that. People worried about failing, people
And people
doing stuff
doing
they're not supposed
things
to do. Yeah,
that were horrific. I mean, remember the doc with Peter, the what is the doctor, and we find out that he's a rapist, a serial rapist.
yeah. Some
And
people hooking up, but they shouldn't hook up with
but
people.
that was a
Pe-
shocking
yeah,
storyline.
people committing suicide, they're offing
Yep.
themselves. People worried about
Doctors. Yeah.
people worried about whether they're going to pass
Mhm.
the final cut. You
Yep.
know, the other doctors when you get older, cutting people from the staff.
Yep.
After the first year, who's going to remain, who's going to be sent home.
And
It's
also the feeling they have, a lot of doctor shows, they make it seem like you're this terrible person and you're not going to make it and you're not good and blah blah blah. But they also tell you, look, we only have so much money in the budget and we're going to have to cut some people. So in order to make ourselves not feel bad about what we're doing, we put it all off on you. There's something wrong with you that you're not working here. We have to cut you. Not but really it's not in the budget. And we wish we could keep everyone, but it's just not in the budget. So that you don't, leave that place thinking that you are the most horrible person in the world and that you can, why bother even practicing medicine since I'm such a failure? Instead of saying it's not you, it's a budget, and we can't keep everyone.
and
Even
people personal. It's like you can have a professional life where you're well respected and everyone you know recommends you and tells you you're great, and then your personal life can be an absolute piece of junk.
yeah,
You
yeah.
could be you could be effing up in every aspect of all your relationship with your children, with your loved ones,
Hmm.
divorces, all kind of stuff going on in your personal life, and then go to work, and then everybody
Everybody
lauds.
lionizes
Yeah,
you. Yeah, yeah. So that's a thing as well. I like that also about St. Elsewhere to show that people could look at you and think you're so wonderful, but by the same token, other individuals in your personal life don't
you
see
could
you
be
that
you could be a monster.
way, a monster, and that's
Yeah, yeah,
why they want to go home. But they don't go home; they stay at work because they don't want to be at home with the people who look at them and say, we know the real you. We
yeah.
know about you. These people, they think that you're a hero, but we know the real you. So that's also, one of those issues. I really enjoyed that show. And I know we watched Rolling into like ER, which was okay. Not saying elsewhere, by any stretch of the imagination,
I think a lot of people like that show a bit more than Sales.
because it doesn't require as much, I think. It's more like a nighttime soap. It didn't require as much from the audience. That's my opinion. But did you watch both, Cranston?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's certain parts of ER that were very good, but generally it kind of had a more of a nighttime soap feel. Soap feel for me. What did you? Well, I mean, did you have you know, any type of a comparison, contrast with them? What did you think?
It was St. Elsewhere seemed to be, it seems that the doctors on St. Elsewhere knew more about doctor stuff, and then you can learn things incidentally that you could actually use in real life. Because I remember there was this one exchange where I'm hosting his name, Wayne Knight, who went on to later be Newman on Seinfeld, was trying to lose weight, and he had some kind of miracle cure. And Ed Begley Jr. told him, said, well, this is going to work for the first week, but that's just water weight. So you take 2 bottles of water and stuff, and you get all this weight back. And he said, okay, didn't know that. So you would learn things. The problems on ER were more the doctors would do something extreme or superheroic or risky, or I'll take the criticism for it later. And other than getting a stern talking to, that was about as far as it went. And then every once in a while, they would do something that was just so far out that you said they just did this for the effect. And I remember the of all the things they did, other than the super extreme things like the guy who the helicopter crashed on him and amputated his arm, was one where there was some sort of complication during a delivery, and Mark had to, after delivering the baby, I think the baby had turned or something, so he had to push the baby back inside. And even just hearing about that was enough to sit there, making you grip your chair when that kind of thing happened. And so a lot of the things that they did were things that weren't, it was like a nighttime soap, because one of the things was in the first few episodes, Carol, Juliana Margulies' character, was supposed to commit suicide when Doug broke up with her. But by that time, she had become such a fan favorite of the character until, they saved her at the last minute, and she came back to life, and she was on there for the next 10 years or something like
Yeah,
that.
she went the whole stretch of the show, didn't she?
No, because I think she and Clooney left at the same time because they finally
Oh,
got
no, I
married.
thought that he left, and then he came back, but she
Yeah.
was there the whole time.
He left, came back, and they had babies. Yeah.
Yeah, but she left before the end of the show. The show was on for
Very-
15
yeah.
years or something.
Yeah, a
So
very long time. And the thing that's so
before
funny
that.
is that you have like Noah Wiley, who is the fresh scrubbed little resident at the very beginning of ER, is now in a show called The Pit, where now he is,
Mhm.
the
The
long
elder statesman.
yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
Same producers too.
hmm I wonder how he feels going from that, position to now, into the I guess into the
Yeah,
others.
one of the trade magazines, I haven't found it again, had him comparing his experiences on the two shows. So if I find it, I'll send you the link. Since evidently StreamYard doesn't want me to put links in.
Huh? How
Well,
bizarre! I do it all the time. What is it?
Yes,
What is
you do. You do. I have to find the article again. I can't find.
But didn't they have more black actors on ER than they did on St. Elsewhere? I mean, you had
well, yes,
Denzel. Hmm?
because you had what is his name, Coolidge, who is from
They were
Orange.
orderlies.
They were
Yeah, they were
orderlies,
orderlies.
the two orderlies, and of course you had Alfred Woodard, who came on as the OB-GYN, the obstetrical surgeon.
Who also look fabulous, by the way.
Yeah, she did look fabulous. And, I was thrilled that, they put a woman on there that Denzel was like his equal, another doctor, and, to have,
And she was good at it, and she
yeah,
was excellent at her job.
yeah, I thought it was very nice.
and the
And,
other thing about St. Elsewhere was it was an opportunity for people behind the scenes, because I think T.C. Carter, who was the orderly, ended up going into directing after that. So there were other
T.C.
which
Carter
was
was
not
on
T.C. Carter, it was
White Shadow, but
Eric Lanville. It was Eric Lanville.
Okay, yeah.
Eric Lanville
And the guy who
and
played Cooley also, who also, I think, directed.
Robert
But not
Hooks. I mean,
and
Kevin
Robert-
Hooks.
Kevin Hooks
Kevin Hooks.
also directed. Yeah, but they had a lot of the old, White Shadow crew
Mhm.
that were also doing directing in that. In
But didn't they have more people of color on ER?
I don't know if it's more, but okay, we had the guy whose face I can see, whose name I don't know.
Omar
They had
Epps.
Epps. No, I remember Omar Epps.
Eric
Remember
Linville.
Eric?
Eric Linville.
No, which show?
No, we're
ER.
talking about we're at ER.
ER.
We're at
Not
Eric LaSalle.
LaSalle. Yeah.
Sal.
Eric LaSalle. I think there was a black woman in ER.
Yes. The nurse. I think she turned a doctor later. Rubens.
I'm thinking I see her in my
Gloria.
mind.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't remember what she did. But I mean, I'm going to say I did not see all of ER, but I saw a whole lot of it. And I think that I'm going to say the one show, and as well as you all will recall, those set of shows that was the most devastating was when Omar Epps was there, and the Eric LaSalle character was riding his butt for him to be more precise, to get better, to get better. And then they had like a guy came in, he got hit by the train. He they said jumped from a train, and so they're trying to call him to come in to, because he's the what you call it, the surgery. He was in his rotation, and they're calling him, and then they're hearing the phone is ringing in the pocket of the guy who they got off the tracks. So he was the one who was. So they were doing the surgery, and of course he did not survive. And the Noah Wiley character's all upset, saying, "Oh, you put too much pressure on him," to the Eric LaSalle character, and blah blah blah. You did all this, and then he jumped, and the thing, blah blah blah, and he was feeling really bad. And then ultimately, this father of the Omar Epps character came and thanked him, you know, for trying to keep him focused and on the straight and narrow, so he would become, a good surgeon. And I think it was an interesting thing because that is kind of something that I would have expected more to see on like Saint Elsewhere. I didn't think that they even understand that there was a dynamic within the black community that guy, this young white person, would not have understood. You know
Yeah.
that the parents of the child,
Somebody the breathing on the
yeah, thank you. The parents of this child, you know, they were grateful that someone took the time to try to help him become a better doctor. And ultimately, to find out he did not jump in front of the train, he was pushed
oh
by a
god.
homeless man.
That's
So,
such a is that
mhm.
I know that they're using that as a device. That's such a stereotype, isn't it now?
What?
People being pushed by homeless people into the
Well, yeah, but the thing is that,
But back
the
then
point
it
was that
wasn't.
the whole story was that he committed suicide because he had been so hard on him. That's what everybody's saying. Oh, that the Eric LaSalle, the doctor, had been so hard on him, and this is why he did it. Blah 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 blah. And it was not. He did not commit suicide. So a crazy person pushed him. I don't say a homeless person, but a crazy person pushed him. In front of the train. So I thought that was really.
yeah, because as a black professional, when you have a younger person under you, it's such a dilemma, you know, because you want them to be good and you know what lies ahead for them, and sometimes you're harder on them than you are on other people, and that's always a real question.
Yeah, because we want to make sure, because we know how the world is, that it is so willing to believe that you do not know what you're doing and that you do not understand and that you will make these mistakes and stuff. They're so willing to believe it. So all those little mistakes, and it's like trying to teach good habits so that you don't get, thrown under the bus, when things go on. And he's not trying to be hard on him because he's mean and hates him, because he understands that this is a rough road to hoe as a young black doctor, and you have to be on your P's and Q's all the time. It's like, I tell my kids that you do your best work so that it becomes habit, and you don't have to think about it. You're just doing it because it's habit. But yeah, but that episode I remember being.
And I didn't watch any of that string of episodes. I remember you telling me about those episodes because you watched it, but I
Mhm.
was not an ER fan. So let me ask you this: is ER, like we recommend, or at least I did. I recommended people go watch St. Elsewhere if they haven't seen it.
Mhm.
Do you recommend people go back and watch ER if they haven't seen it?
No, I haven't even gone back and watched ER. I mean,
So you don't recommend that people go back?
no, it's not something that in my mind that you need to see twice. You
I
want
would
you get through it.
I would recommend ER because it was on for so long and they rotated so many people through the cast. If you want to see where people that you learn to watch later, where they started out,
Mhm.
it's good for it's like watching Perry Mason to see, yeah, okay, this was 5 years before they went on this show, or this was 2 years before they did this part, or something like that.
A reverse. Where are they now? Where
Yeah,
were they? You know.
yeah, this is where they started,
Yeah,
so.
that's how they got their start doing the show. Yeah, but I think, yeah, I really did. I mean, of all the medical shows that I have seen, I really elevate, Saint Elsewhere. But I would say that Noah Wiley's new show, The Pit, is also very good.
Very
Mhm.
good. And Mash is
And MASH
other
is
than Mash,
very
is there
good.
any other show, even the George Clooney ER comedy show that I don't remember? Is there any other medical show that had a laugh track to it?
There wasn't one that had a laugh track, but it was definitely economy, and that was Scrubs.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
forgot about Scrubs.
Which is
I
the
love
Scrubs.
that show.
Scrubs is great, but didn't have a laugh track.
Didn't
Yeah,
have a laugh track.
yeah.
love that show.
Supposedly, Scrubs is the most accurate medical show ever produced, according to
According to who?
doctors in the AMA.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about that. I will always remember that episode where the guy who ends up becoming the medical examiner, where they have this woman in the hospital for so long, and I think what is her name? She was an actress. What is not? Was it Michael Learned? And she was in the hospital for a long time, and finally she was getting released. She's getting discharged, and he was one of those people that constantly made little mistakes. And at the very end, when he sees her, oh, and he says goodbye to her, and he hugs her or dance with her, and then you see how he did not properly dispose of some bio materials, and that not washed his hands. It was on his hands. You see all the different places that's showing the end where he touched and how he touched her. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and that was yeah,
Scrubs is supposed to be a comedy, but some of those shows are hard to watch
yeah.
because
hmm
they're so serious,
The,
and and it's one of those shows where there's no thank God there's no laugh track, but people know what's funny, what's not funny,
hmm
and and a lot of serious illnesses, people with serious illnesses, and you
Yeah.
see them and you kind of get in, relate to them,
Yep.
relate with them, and they pass away. They
Yep.
go away.
And I think the one I thought one of the most harsh ones was when the guy was waiting for the kidney, and his daughter had gotten married, and they asked him, well, with your daughter's celebration, the wedding, did you have any alcohol? He said, well, yeah, I just I had one glass of champagne. And then the doctor, the one who's like the real hard ass, he said, well, I'm taking you off the list. And he said, but it was just one glass of champagne. He said, yeah, but we said no alcohol, and you will get this kidney, and then you will not take care of it, because someone, maybe have to die for you to have this kidney, and you don't take care of it, and it could have gone to someone else that could have taken care of it. So, I mean, this guy had to be like his 40s or 50s or something. His daughter just got married, and he took him off of the list. And he did it. I mean, he wasn't, just trying to teach him a lesson or anything. He
Mhm.
actually moved him from the transplant list. Basically, all the years it took for him to get to the top of the transplant list, basically, consigning him to death. So I thought that was, really horrible and frightening. But then again, so that is when these organs come,
Mhm.
they're hard to get, the ones that are in good condition, etc. And you get this organ, and you will think, oh, well, it's okay for me to have, some liquor. It's okay for me to have this or that. Once you get it, it's a no. Obviously, you don't understand, you know, the seriousness of
Mhm.
this. Say no. And I thought that was, I was stunned by it. Someone could do something but it's just one glass of champagne on his daughter's wedding day, you know,
And that was
and,
it.
and that was it for him. I thought wow. So yeah, it did have some, very, serious issues. And then the one with the guy who was from Men at Work,
Yeah.
he came in and he's singing the song Overkill throughout the entire
Oh,
episode.
that is so hard to watch.
Yeah, that is a very hard one to watch too. Very, very hard to watch.
That was a series of shows, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was like 2 or 3 shows.
Mm-hmm. It's just that things have the comedy mixed in with the drama, you know, and sometimes you don't know where something is going, but I thought it was a really good show. Quite an excellent show. Um, I'm glad that you mentioned it because I forgot. Any other shows that you all watched in the medical profession that you thought were overrated or just completely missed the mark when they were doing their medical practices?
Well, there was one that I liked, and it's an either you like it or you hate it based on the cast, and that was House.
Never ever. I tried to watch it once and I could not watch it after that. It just did not. It didn't work.
Yeah, I tried to watch it too.
Yeah, and it just did not. Now, but this is the thing that's interesting. The very same guy who played House was on a limited series on one of the I don't know which platform it was on, and he was a doctor. Remember that one, Otto? He was a
Yes, he
doctor.
was I think he was a psychiatrist, but he was a doctor. Yeah, and it's much more easy to it's much more easy to
Really good.
watch.
It was very good.
Yeah.
And he was hung up with this guy who was like, I don't know if he was an assassin or some sort of killer. Big guy, you know. And at the end, after all this stuff just kind of went kablooey, you know, he went into Mexico and opened up a clinic, and practiced medicine. It was just really, I mean, just a mess. But I did not like House, but I did like this guy's performance in this um, limited series. I wish I remembered what it was called. There was someone in it who was of note who played like one of the villains, partial villains. Who was a doctor or someone that was like,
Yeah, I remember her. I guess if you go to IMDb and look at Hugh Laurie
yeah, that would find it,
stuff,
and
you
I'll
you can find it.
let me
But
look for it
it's real
because
good.
it's very good.
And his I like shows with people life. I mean, on House,
Hmm.
it was like he was like to me, he was promoted as some sort of genius doctor
Hmm.
who unconventional, but the same thought of meme,
Hmm.
tiresome meme.
Oh
But
God, Doogie Howser. That's the one I
yeah,
just know.
Doogie Howser, yeah.
No, no.
But but on this other series that Hugh Laurie was in, he I mean he had people coming to try to kill him.
Hmm.
I mean
Yeah,
it was serious issues.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
Chance.
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
that is recommended. That is absolutely recommended. If you can find
Yeah,
it. I don't know where to find it, but it's recommended.
it says on Hulu, or you can buy it on Prime.
Yeah, nobody's gonna buy that. But it's recommended if you can find it on YouTube or some alternate site. I'm
Yeah.
not purchasing it, but it's something it's highly recommended. Now you mentioned Doogie Howser. Is that a recommended doctor show?
I know. I saw, I think, a piece of an episode of Doogie Howser.
If you like
Yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris, yeah, but other than that, no.
both Doogie Housers, because Disney Plus had a version of a Doogie Howser type thing
Mhm.
too. Because there was no way that a hospital would let someone that young practice.
Hmm.
Too
Well,
Yeah.
much liability.
you know what? If he got his own license and everything. He opened.
No, no.
He got his own
Yeah, he
shingle
can.
sign.
Right, he would open a private practice, but in a hospital, too much liability.
Yeah.
Or like you're saying, in the legal business, you would be in the back room,
Yeah.
so
Doing
you would
research.
never actually see patients.
You never
Yeah,
see.
he'd be a research
Yeah,
specialist.
researcher. Yeah, because I tell you, I had a doctor once who looked so young, and he came in the room, and I said, "So, are you the intern?"
Well, you know what? When I go to the doctor, I don't really care about age.
I mean, nobody. I
I
mean,
mean,
he
because
looked
we all get
really
that.
young. I mean, he
We
looked
all get
really
we
young.
all
I
get
said, "Oh my
mistaken. You
goodness."
know, when we're starting out our careers, we get
Yes.
mistaken for like other things that are in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
particular place or
Mhm.
space based on our age or our sex or the color of our skin.
Mhm.
So if they said, that's the doctor, right? So, but the thing is, I think these medical shows, a lot of them, even the St. Elsewhere's and the ERs,
Mhm.
and they show doctors messing up and doing the wrong thing, or people just being flat out incompetent, or
Mhm.
or or you get the service that you get based on the hospital that you get sent to.
Mhm.
A lot of people still have a lot of faith in doctors, and
Yeah.
whatever the doctor says, they believe. That's it.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, but we've been taught. It's like teachers.
Don't
You got.
don't question me. It's like if
That's
I
right.
say that you got, if I say you got cancer, you got cancer. It's second opinion. It's like we don't want to upset Dr. Saperstein.
That's right. Exactly. It would be fair to Dr. Saperstein. Come on. So I mean, I guess we're at that about that golden hour, and this has been fun as we discuss our favorites and not so favorites. Like I said, my not so favorite would definitely be Doogie Howser.
Well,
I couldn't.
yeah,
That.
you wouldn't want to if you're sitting in a waiting room
Mhm.
and you got a issue come. You don't want a 14-year-old, whatever
No.
age he was, doctor come. But the thing is this: the doctors who wisecrack, like the doctors in Scrubs, or the
Uh-huh.
doctors who are serious,
Hmm.
like the doctors in ER or St. Elsewhere, or Marcus Welby or Ben Casey. Which what kind of doctor would you want taking care of you?
Somebody else can answer that first.
It would be, well, two things, because I have a whole team of medical professionals now. My primary physician does not have, well, she appreciates a sense of humor, but I don't think she could like tell a joke or something like that. So, but anything that you mentioned, so she asks you questions, this, and comes up with what's wrong with you. So I admire, it's the confidence your doctor has, that they're relaxed enough to do that. I had told after I got a stent, and of course, I went home and got a second opinion from Dr. Google, as they called it once on Succession. And I was telling my cardiologist, and this guy happens to be the head of the cardiologist department at the hospital. So, and I said, well, I read on there, they said that people that had this procedure, you only have like 5
Mhm.
years before, that's it. And he just smiled and says, well, I'll tell you what, 5 years from now, we'll have this conversation again. And that was it. And it's going on 6 years. So looks like he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, I
All
like
right.
that. I like that. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I also like the time, Penelope, when you had the asthma thing, and the
Mm-hmm.
doctor told you but prednisone. It's like, I heard that this medicine does this, and this.
Mm-hmm. The bad for your says I heard it's bad for your kidneys and bad for your liver, and that you really shouldn't take it. And he said, well, you have like the best kidneys, but you won't be able to breathe. So it's like first say you need to focus on being able to breathe.
Mhm.
You know, so it's
I
kind of,
like I like those doctors that have that
yeah,
like Cranston said, that
yeah.
have
So
that
you need to,
confidence, and that
yeah, you got to
Mhm.
focus on being able to
cut
breathe.
to the chase. It
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
equivocate. It cut to the chase
right.
of
It's
like,
like that's lovely,
But
and you could have a bad kidney, but guess
Mhm.
what? You'll still be breathing with it, and deal with the
Mhm.
kidney problem. But you be able to breathe. You
but there's
know.
sometimes when that confidence can be too much. Like when my mom went into the hospital one time, and I was sitting there, and the doctor, what I thought was the doctor, came in and, well, we're just gonna have to prep her for amputation and all of that, and I freaked out.
I'm
And
like,
then the
what?
real doctor came in,
And you're
who
like, who are
happened to be a
you?
friend of the family, and found out that the first one was just the intern. And he took a, don't you dare ever say that in front of a patient like that again, especially when they have their family there.
Mhm.
Wow, wow.
And he's like, we're going to make sure that this woman depends on her legs. We're going to make sure that
Right.
she walks out of here on her legs.
Yeah,
And
she needs her legs.
he
well,
took
that's a
care
better doctor. That's a
Hmm.
he
better
took
doctor.
care of her, and
Mhm.
she 50 years later, she was still.
Walking around her stems.
Yeah, if I could
That's a
find
better
Dr.
doctor.
Joseph, if I could find Dr. Joseph again, or anybody else he trained after that intern,
Mhm.
they got a patient for life.
Hmm. That is
That's
amazing.
the kind of confidence that you want
Mhm.
your doctor to have. To listen
Yeah.
to you
Not
and
false
give you
confidence, real
no,
confidence.
not false, not that false stuff like that stupid fool that said that thing to your
Hmm.
mother,
Mhm.
but the real
Why
confidence.
anybody would have the temerity to make a statement like that in front of someone? What a moron!
There's one
Yeah, I
show
mean
we didn't talk about, Nurse Jackie.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
that
Mhm.
was
Unfortunately,
good.
there are nurses like that
But
in the
that was
field.
But you know what
so
about Nurse Jackie is?
good.
Nurse Jackie was good. Now she had a lot
That
of
was so
personal
good.
issues,
Hmm.
just like we talk about Saint Elsewhere and other shows. A lot of crap going on in her life, but she knew her job.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. That was a fantastic show. And I got to tell you, the um the incredible plot twist with her husband. My God,
What an asshole!
what an asshole! I mean,
That guy.
all through
They
the
had me
whole
feeling
thing.
sorry
Oh,
for
they
that dude.
had us. They had us. She's jacking up and messing up, and their money is
She
funny.
doing a little bit of
Oh
every.
my God, this.
She doing different people. She doing a little bit of everything.
Uh huh.
But Nurse Jackie, that show, I
Yeah.
have no idea why that show hasn't been elevated. It is great, and
Wow,
Nurse
what a
Jackie is
fantastic
great.
show.
I would want her taking care of me.
Yeah, even though she can't take very good care of herself.
that's
You know.
usually the case.
Yep.
Medical
And
professionals make the worst patients.
that's
Yeah.
true for most professionals. We
And
take
it's
care of.
hard,
They train us to take care of other people,
and we
and
do
our
not
lives are
take
in
care of
such
ourselves.
disarray.
Yep. The
We
very
got
same
stuff
things that you
flying
do
all
for
over
other
the place.
people. Yeah, that you can't do for yourself.
Hmm.
And I tell you, that show was so good.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. There's a bunch of stuff on Nurse Jackie because it's on cable that you can't show on regular television.
Yes.
But it
At the
is part of that age of the era of prestige television
Mm-hmm.
hmm
that hasn't really been elevated in my mind to the level that it should be.
Uh-huh. I'll tell you, the one thing I thought was great was when they had the patient who needed pain meds, and they could not get them the pain meds. And so she and the guy who the ambulance driver were getting the person some weed for their pain, but then showing them how to make the bong using the apple. So I mean, and I thought that was really cool because you have this thing, you try with the bong with the apple. Then of course, since it is 100% organic, you have it in your refrigerator. Nobody's thinking about it or whatever. It's in there, and when you're done, you throw it away. Completely organic. But this person could not get around. They were in so much pain, and at the time, they didn't have the medical marijuana. So she and the ambulance driver hooked this person up, with the dealer and showed them how to use
I
this app.
like that. I like
I think that
people
was great.
who know the rules
Yep,
and
and
they bend the rules, but they're not all Dr. House about it. You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? It's just
doing your job and trying to do what I'm supposed to do, which is to reduce pain. You know, to help people who are in this extraordinary amount of pain, and you're telling them, well, you can't have this drug, you can't have this drug, that drug. Sure, you could have marijuana if it was legal. That would be able to quell your suffering, but you can't have that. They say, oh, okay, well, you can't have that, and so they sent them home. You know, in that pain, then showed up at their house. It's okay. This is what you got to do. This
or
is what you.
doctors or health professionals that are like rating I guess the medical the pharmaceuticals, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, in order to get by day to day,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a lot. I can imagine it's a lot seeing people in suffering and pain and suffering, and it's a
And
lot.
they're asking you, help me with these rules that I live by here. I've worked by these rules. Say that I can't help you, and if I did help you, well, then put you in a position where I can't help anyone else.
Mhm.
You know, what a dilemma. What a dilemma. So, I do like the dramas that deal with those types of dilemmas, and also deal with the people who are the real hard asses who
But
really
okay,
don't
so
care.
There's
answer the question.
Hmm.
Would you want the doctors from? You don't want Doogie Howser coming in the, you know.
No,
So
no,
would you
that
want the doctor from Scrubs, from St. Elsewhere, ER? Do you want Dr. Marcus? Who do you want to come in and you're sick? You think you're on the brink of going to the upper room. Who
yep.
do you want? What doctor
I
do you want?
want Dr. Watson in the current show Watson
Hmm.
with Morris Chestnut.
Hmm. I would
Because he does
say
exactly what you said. Break through. He finds ways to get around the rules
get you
to
what you.
help and get you what you need.
I would say, I wish I could say Dr. Chandler from St. Elsewhere, but Chandler is a hard ass. And I think that he would do. I mean, I would come out of there if he was responsible for taking care of me. I would come out, healthy and wealthy, and wise. But I don't think he would dote on you as a patient. I think he would have a very, I'm not going to say cold bedside manner, but I think it would be a very nonchalant bedside manner. So I would want a doctor that has a decent bedside manner. So I am going to pick um what is his name? What's his name? Roseberg, whatever his name is from Pitt. I would pick that doctor. I think that he has good bedside manner. He has been an in the trenches doctor with a good bedside manner.
Yeah,
Who's like get the thing done. Even like the young woman that everybody called her slow mo because she was doing things, kind of a little bit slowly. And the other woman was saying, well, she was just fine. She was doing the stuff, did the right thing for a patient. I thought that what he said to her was accurate. This woman could lose the use of her lungs, and you're trying to be nice and have a good relationship with them, but she could lose the use of her lungs.
right.
Get the consent form signed. Stop. Trying to soft sell it. Get it signed because she's
Right.
got to get this procedure done. Otherwise, she may basically lose the use of part of her lungs. So get with it. So even though I thought yes, it would be nice for somebody to tell you you're doing okay, everything's fine, but I think he's accurate. Get a move on. You know, get why is this not done? Why is that consent not signed? Because if something did happen to that woman, of course everything turned out a okay, but if something did happen to her and her family members would say, well, you're in here all that time talking and explaining stuff, but why didn't you tell us we needed to sign this consent form? Because that's the way people are. This on the one hand they'll say, oh, you should have been nicer to us and talking and that made me feel better. But on the other hand, something happens. So, well, what do you mean she could have had the procedure, but you didn't get the consent form signed, right? So I think you're to err on the side of get that consent form signed and then then you can talk, right?
Hmm.
So I thought, yeah, that's who I would pick. How about you, Otto?
I have several options. I would pick Dr. Craig
I would want Dr. Craig. Yeah,
for
you
St.
said like
Elsewhere.
surgery for saying about Dr.
I would want Dr. Craig because he would just cut through all the crap and just say, "Look, this is where you are, and this is what you need." And I had doctors, that I had a relationship with when I would say, "Cut through the crap, tell me what's up, what I need," and I would say, "I also need this," and they said, "No, we're not giving you that," and I would tell them, "No, you're going to give me that," and they say, "Okay, let me write a prescription." And I think
I
that,
mean, one thing, yeah, like Dr. Craig, I like because even though he was an asshole to his colleagues, he was very good to his patients. So you're
yeah,
right.
I would think Dr. Craig, and
Hmm.
or Dr. McCoy or the doctor on Star Trek Voyager. I know those are not medical shows, but
He's the nature of the medical emergency.
they got they got those future medical stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, they got that future.
Hmm.
They got that future stuff. Whatever the hell's wrong with me, I'm pretty sure they can find out with that
Yeah,
tricorder or whatever it
yeah,
was
yeah,
and fix it.
yeah. I
And nano
remember.
probe, put a nano probe in me or something.
Yeah, I remember the what is it? The film where they which one with the whales in it? Which Star Trek was that?
4.
Yeah, yeah. This Chekhov had gone down, and the people had gotten him, the medical professionals, and something was wrong with his brain. They thought they were going to give him a sick thing, and the doctor comes down. He's like freaking out. Barbarians are going to cut him open.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's like you think, well, yeah, that's surgery. But now,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
them, oh my God, I give you
And said,
barbarian.
what are you gonna bring out next?
I'm like, cut
Leeches?
him open. Yeah, cut him
Yeah,
open. That's the way. So I think that was very funny too. And if we can
yeah.
imagine how it will be in the real future, we get our act together, that comet he makes will be a reality, that
I think it
you
will
never
be.
reach the
We're
skin.
getting we're
Yeah,
getting there. The laser surgery, they don't have to cut you open as much. It's getting there inch by inch.
yeah, and things for me, for instance, like when they talked about people who have like the what do you call it, gallstones, kidney
Hmm.
stones,
The
where they
vibrating and
right the
stuff.
vibrate
Sonic.
the
Yeah,
Yeah.
sonic,
sonic.
yeah, and don't have to cut you open or anything. Just the bits and pieces gotta make their
Or
way out.
doing surgery
But
by doing microsurgery by
yeah, yeah,
yeah
Well,
by
what a friend of mine was having some problems with, I think, kidney stones or something like that. So I asked, well, what were they going to do? Were they going to vibrate them out or whatever? But no, they said, well, they were treating it through diet. If you take this and stuff, this will help dissolve it while you do that. So it's good to see that you do want to see medicine where they don't write a prescription for everything,
yes,
and
exactly.
they do allow your body to heal on its own and everything. And that they are, and doctors are not as opposed to you asking questions about
Yeah,
the treatment you prescribe. Because I have had doctors where I just wanted to know, they gave me something to put me out really quick, so I would just want to know what it was. So when I told that story to somebody else, and the doctor got offended that I asked him that, like, I was
why?
questioning his decision or something. So there was a time, and it's not that much anymore and stuff, where doctors did not want you to be a participant in your healing, but now
Right,
they've gotten better with that. So,
It's all
but people
depending on how they were trained.
right.
yeah.
yeah, and how people are trained. I think people are trained by TV to
Hmm.
not ask questions and just go with whatever the doctor or the medical staff says.
Hmm.
And that being said, Cranston, who's your TV doctor of choice?
Believe it or not, is for all he did and stuff, I would still go with House, because as caustic and dismissive and screwed up as he was, he would tell you this is what the problem is. He could diagnose it, and I can only think of 2 cases where he actually missed the diagnosis and the person died as a result. So,
Mm,
based on his track record, I would take him for that.
okay.
I wouldn't put him on my friends list or anything. I wouldn't say Facebook
Yeah.
request, but you know, I would say, yeah, thanks for figuring out that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, death is a good important thing because although I chose Dr. McCoy as one of my doctors too, how many times did Dr. McCoy say to
He's dead.
somebody, he's dead, Jim. He's
But
Jim dead.
but they were already dead, so it wasn't like they were
Worked on
dead.
him.
It wasn't his
Yeah.
treatment.
It wasn't a treatment.
It was the
Yeah.
fact that he got there too late.
no man.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
come on. Sometimes like this man's dead, Jim.
You say, hey,
Come
Jim,
on.
he's wearing a red shirt, Jim. What do you expect?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the whole
you know?
reason why in Next Gen they changed the colors of the shirt.
Mm.
So wait a minute. I don't want to wear that red shirt.
It's like whatever film that was that David Duchovny was in when he somebody got shot and he said
Yes.
oh this man is
He's
dead.
dead.
And this guy holds a gun to his head. He said, "Well, I'll see what I can
That's what I
do."
can do. I see what I can do. It's like, this man is dead. So I'll see what I can do.
Mhm.
It was very good. I think it's him and Timothy Hutton. I can't remember what the film was, but it was very funny. Well, it's a drama, but that particular segment was very funny. It was, this guy been shot, and they bring him to this doctor. And it's like, this man is dead. They put a gun and said, I'll see what I can do.
Mm.
Whoa, whoa.
Well, there's a T-shirt that says, a medical T-shirt that says, "Oh my God, today I almost saw a patient die, and I was right there in the room, but at the last minute, I put the scalpel back in my pocket and backed out of the door, and they were okay."
Oh my God.
You remember there used to be
Crazy.
remember there used to be a thing like
Angel of Death thing.
Remember there used to be a thing where for a while it was like doctors were accused of leaving stuff inside people.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
don't hear
because
about that as much.
Oh, it happens. Or
Yeah.
because somebody, it was one case, they took off the wrong leg, they took out the wrong organ.
Oh my gosh. That
That's,
is some
that's
stuff.
yeah.
Oh my
It still happens. You just don't hear about it as much
You don't
because
hear about it. It
it
used to
gets
be
settled.
like
It gets
like
settled
you're
really
going,
quick.
you're standing in
Yeah, I
in
think
the
so.
in the checkout line in the supermarket, and it'll be on the National Enquirer, like operating sponge left in patient, a bunch of stuff, like a surgical glove left in whatever.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
things like that.
Well,
I was gonna say when I had my surgery, my doctor asked just before I went under. He would always ask his patients, "What are you in here for?" So to make sure that everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing.
I
Because
said, "What the hell are you asking me for?
the year
And why you asking me
before,
now?"
the year before, somebody had taken they were doing an amputation and they took off the wrong leg, so the person ended up being a double amputee.
Oh no.
Oh,
How can
and
you
being
make
the
that
owner of the
mistake?
hospital too. It
Yeah,
was
I mean,
George
how,
E. Sims Hospital.
how do you make that mistake?
Are you
well,
joking with me?
there are
And,
things
and,
that
and
happen.
is there any hospital in your area that you are afraid to go to?
There are hospitals that have a certain reputations that go with it or not. There's a Mayo Clinic here, so a lot of people think, well, hey, if something happens to you, that's where you need to go. There used to be a charity hospital here that was that people did kind of have a reason to worry about because as a charity hospital in the good old segregated South, they had 2 wards for Black people, and for one for men and one for women. And if you were a woman, no matter what condition you were, whether you were having a baby or you were getting a breast surgery, you ended up in the women's ward. And if you're a guy, whatever problem you had, you ended up in that ward. And they would talk about how people wouldn't come out. And, and I always thought, well, they're being superstitious or whatever that is. But a friend of mine worked on this book called Bones in the Basement, where they were doing a expansion of the this room at Emory in Atlanta. And as they were digging out the floor was just hard packed dirt. And as they dug out the floor, they found all of these bones in the dirt.
Yes.
And they looked at the bones and found they were all human bones. So they checked on it and found out that back in the mid 1800s, when using bodies for medical learning was considered a wrong thing, and they couldn't get bodies. So what the hospital did was they bought a slave. And the slave's job was to get them bodies. And so he would go into the black cemeteries and dig up the bodies of the people who had been buried there, take them back to the hospital so the medical students could learn with it. And then when they finished, they just left all the bones down in the floor.
Oh my God.
And so there was a thing for a while that they said, if they needed a body and you were kind of circling the drain, you might not make it back out.
Wow.
Now, a lot of that has gotten better, and there are a lot of people.
A lot of it has gotten better.
Well, a lot of it has gotten better. And the hospital that was the indigent hospital has been taken over by one of the state universities, and so they have now had. The thing is, because they handle so many people who ended up with like gunshots and that kind of thing, they have the best trauma center in the city. So somebody shoots you, that's where you want them to go. They've also added other things, so many different things now, until they're talking about Jacksonville is becoming a site for medical tourism, where you just come here to get in whatever program they have around the city. So
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So what now?
What do you mean by that?
Well, it means they have one center that's proton therapy for cancer. So since that's something that they don't do except one or two other places in the country, you come here to get surgery at this procedure. They have big.
How do you do that? I mean, you have to move there.
No,
ahead
you
of
just.
time, or you're just.
Oh no, you just get referred there. They make a space for you. Your family stays at a hotel nearby somewhere. They do your treatment and usually try to get you out like in 2 or 3 days when these things come up. So that's what it is. But it'll be like medical boutiques now and stuff. So.
Wow.
I did not know that about Jacksonville.
Oh yeah.
Learn something every day.
Well, there's a hospital here that by reputation, which I think is kind of deserved, but it's kind of not deserved right now, and that's Parkland Hospital that John Kennedy was. Yeah, he was taken to when he was shot here, and so that hospital has a reputation. It's a public hospital, so it has a reputation of being, giving health care to people who are indigent or poor. And that's a hospital I would want to avoid. But I think just like you were saying that, if you have a gunshot wound or something like that, that's the place to go to.
Yeah.
That's the try. And if you've been burned, they have one of the best burn units in the country. And so a lot of these places have bad reputations, and they're not really, they were earned back in the day, but they're not really relevant now.
Oh yeah. And two other things about medical shows that so we won't be on here all night, is the first thing is that they cut out the thing where they said that unlike some of the earlier shows back in the 60s and 70s, where they were yelling things across the room all the time, says no, it's not like that and stuff. They talk with urgency, but in a normal tone of voice and stuff. It's not like no, get him in off 3 stat. No, that doesn't happen. The second thing is, and you've seen this on too many shows, where somebody was shot but they weren't already dead. So then somebody slips into the hospital and gets a pair of scrubs and picks up a clipboard and wanders through the hallway so they find the room and then kill them. No, they don't do that. When my nephew had been shot, and I was trying to go see them. They were calling the family and saying, well, y'all need to get down here and everything. And I asked them, gave my name, ID, everything and stuff like that. Told them family relationship, names matching everything. They said, well, you're going to have to wait down here till somebody else comes. You can't do that. So in real life, no, you don't slip around in a borrowed pair of scrubs wearing what you call it, wingtip shoes and stuff, and then they let you go through and shoot somebody. So
Okay, I'll remember that. Not to wear
yeah.
the shoes. I'll remember that. Keep that in mind. All right. Well, anybody else? Sonia, any more doctor-related things that you want to put out there?
No, just if you like detective shows and you like medical shows, I recommend the new one, Watson. It does put a different spin on the Sherlock Holmes. In fact, Sherlock Holmes isn't even in it, but
But
Moriarty.
Sonya just has a
No,
crush on Morris Chestnut.
yeah, that too, but
That's all there is.
but it is a good show because it shows a team working to solve, that they are patient focused, and I don't think
And
there's been and research oriented. That usually, the doctor just knows just what's wrong with you and can solve you just like that. This one actually shows the research that many doctors have to do to figure out what's wrong with you.
Well, that's what you said is
what you
right, because I think, like we talked about last week, based on what people see on television, they want their doctors to give them the answer now. They don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
just like people want their lawyers to, to give the kind of representation that they see on television. Patients want their doctors to tell them what's wrong with them, and give them a pill right now. They don't want to mess around.
Mm-hmm. He reminds me more of the doctor I had when I was in Tallahassee. She actually investigated, she was the first person I actually heard who said, oh, your anemia and your blood pressure is probably race-based, not something wrong with you. But let's double check to make sure there's not an additional something wrong with you causing it. So that's why I like that one. There was another one that was just on and I can't remember. Oh, Dr. Odyssey. The one that's supposed the doctor, it's a ABC show about a doctor on a cruise ship. And it was on the other day and they had a shark attack and they showed how the shark bit through the bone. To the bone. And I was just like, okay, you need trigger warnings for stuff like that.
Okay, don't want to see that. But
yeah.
Okay, but
and Dr. Pimple Popper, don't forget that.
Yeah, but that's a supposedly reality-based show. It's not a drama.
Yeah.
And I said supposedly because we all know that reality shows aren't. But
they have writers.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, any other shows you want to give a shout out to that we have not mentioned, like you were just doing, Sonia, that people might want to catch, either in reruns and syndication, on whatever platforms they're on. Anybody have anything that you think, go look for this,
I think those are the only. I haven't seen The Pit yet, so when I get back, Max, I'll check a look at The Pit with your recommendations.
Yeah, that's recommended. And I think Penelope, is that all in one? Is that showing one day?
One day. Supposed to be one day.
One day.
The whole season is one day. And
so, since they've already been renewed for season 2, that's the next day, or do you think they'll make a jump?
Or some other day.
They said, boy, you know how bad last week was? Yeah, so
yeah, like that. So 2 months later, after these, because this day they have a lot of their, I guess the residents just starting out, and so maybe we'll see them a year later, after they've been there for a year.
And I don't want to prolong this, Penelope, but there's one show that I forgot the name of it, where there was an Indian doctor, female Indian doctor, and I think she committed suicide or something, and it was the other.
It was on BBC.
What was the
And
name of
oh
that
my gosh,
show?
it was really good. And because it is BBC, and I don't know the names of all these actors that were in it, but I guess you could do a search and say,
What was the main actor's name? I forgot.
I don't know.
It wasn't Tim
Uh,
Roth.
no, 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 no. Uh, yeah, and it was really about depression and stuff. Um, and it was this guy had issues like with his uh.
With his
Okay,
partner.
this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. Is the name of it.
Oh, this is going. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said this was going to hurt. Like you were going to tell
No,
me.
no, no. This is going to hurt. And it's miniseries. This guy who played the main role, uh, is it Ben Wisham? Ben Wishaw?
It's Arab actor.
Ben Wishaw is the guy who was the British guy. Ambika Ahmad played Trudy, the young woman who committed suicide.
Right. That
And
show
yeah,
is highly recommended as well.
yeah, very, very good. Very, very good show. And people who are good, maybe at what they do, but they are damaged. And this doctor, he's damaged. You know, and but he's it was very good. It was a very, very good show. Like that. That's one if you can get it. And I just turned away from it just then. And I guess I should have told you where you could find it. But it is called This Is Going to Hurt. And let me see. I'm going to IMDb, and it says streaming on Acorn TV and AMC, but both of them it seems season one. Does it have more than one season?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, because I was thinking it only had one season.
It
I didn't
seemed like
know
it. It seemed like it did, but it
because
was.
it's just very long.
It's almost like Being Human. It seems like
yeah,
it's like
so much happens.
really dense.
Yeah, very dense. A whole lot of stuff happens. And I think it was about the show that I think was very interesting is that his mom and his dad, and I do not think his dad had one line in the entire show.
Well, that's unusual.
That's why I would like to see the next
it's
season
usually-
to see if the dad actually gets lines. That would have been. I was wondering later. Well, maybe we get to hear him next season. But it was good. Very, very good show. If you can, find it. It's very rough. Good. It's interesting. Very interesting too. Because you have one hospital is a public hospital, and then down the road you have this private hospital, and how the private hospital, has all this stuff that the public hospital does not.
And this is among national health care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really interesting. Really interesting. So I would say, check it out if you can. Right. Anything else before? Because we keep saying anything else.
One last one. I got to see a few episodes. I didn't get to see the entire run. New Amsterdam, which was loosely based on real stories from Bellevue Hospital, where my grandmother worked.
I've never seen it. I saw like the openings.
The few shows I saw, the head doctor, or the supposedly the star doctor was hitting frustrations that he needed to get the X equipment or whatever to treat this patient, and the administration just nope type thing, and him figuring out how to get around the administration.
Mm-hmm.
Bellevue is a notorious New York City hospital.
Yes, it was originally the mental institution that Arkham is based on from Batman mythology.
And somebody was like I told you, it seemed like when I was a kid, somebody was always escaping from Bellevue, and the white man who was unshaven Just roaming the streets of New York.
Whenever they need to send you for evaluation, it was to Bellevue.
Oh, wow.
Tell me,
But
for
yeah,
New York to be the greatest city in the world, why is everything, half the stuff it's famous for is something like Potter's Field or Rikers Island or something, they said, wait a minute,
because sees drama and all the really fun, good stuff?
yeah,
Well,
okay.
Mhm.
there's a place in New York called, it used to be called Welfare Island,
Mm.
and so because it's a big city, it has a lot of poor people,
Mhm.
and so we got to put them somewhere where they die or get sick, and that's where they go.
That's scary.
And Sonia, I can relate to your grandmother, your mother. My aunt is a nurse, or was a nurse, and worked in Lenox Hill Hospital in New York as well.
Mhm. Have all
Yeah,
those nursing stories. Well, my aunt was not a nurse; she was a phlebotomist and then a lab tech. So we got all those kind of stories. And I remember she used to tell us that when the constant lunacy. So whenever there's a full moon, the boy, the emergency rooms are always
always,
packed.
and it's true.
Yeah.
I,
And when somebody goes mental in New York, it's always take them to Bellevue.
Bellevue.
Mhm. Yep,
Yep.
yep, yep. Come on, you know where to go. You know where to go. That's great though. All right, you all. But I mean, we've been on for a while because it is so much uh material, because so many medical shows in the United
Because
States, and
so many
now
parents want
all over the
their.
world, that we could
Mhm.
get these shows on all these different platforms. So if there's anyone that you remember, come up with, don't forget to go to the Discussions with the Other Hood Facebook group and list them. Let people know this is where you can go to find good quality medical programming. Yes. All right. Well, I just want to say before we say goodnight is that this is our last show that we'll be doing on Saturday night. And we have like a show that is like our what do you call it, segue, which is our next week's show, which is Sunday, March 16th at 2 o'clock, which will be VCon, where we will be doing a panel for VCon, and it is called Our Voices, where we discuss the use of Black voices, or so-called Black voices, in television and film, specifically, animation, how it is that our voices are presented. Are they realistic representations of how Black people speak? And if they're not, then what should it be? So we'll see you all then. Check the Facebook page, or I'm going to post it also all over the place that we'll be doing VCon. That will be our, as I say, segue show into moving to doing Discussions from the Other Hood on Sunday instead of doing it on Saturday. And what it will also bring to us is the return of James Goodrich to the show.
Yay.
And, so that'll be, quite marvelous. So, anybody else? Anything coming up you want to tout?
As the day comes to an end, happy International Women's Day.
Yay, happy Women's Day.
And a happy birthday to one of my childhood friends, Sharon Bazemore.
All right.
Um,
Sharon
she's
Bazemore.
years old. As she said, she's 21 holding.
That's right.
And
Oh.
Don't forget to spring forward.
When is that?
Tonight.
Oh,
But you know what?
change.
You don't have to remember that anymore. 'Cause almost everything that we have does it
yes,
for you.
changes on its own.
I just had to change 3 clocks in this house.
You don't have any that are.
I got
they're
one
not
more to
connected?
change.
Okay, you don't have ones that are connected to the
I
internet
have
and
all the
stuff?
electronics are connected, but the TV, the microwaves aren't, and the stove wasn't,
Yeah,
and
I
there's a
guess you're right.
clock in the kitchen that wasn't.
Well, who checks their stove for time? What time is it? Check the stove.
No. I mean, I have to check with time. I just check it for when I'm cooking.
Yeah,
Come back.
Big,
because
big
Yeah.
numbers. You can see them without your glasses.
correct. And
Oh
when you
my
have to go up and down stairs, you want to make sure all the clock syncs to what you're cooking doesn't burn.
Mhm.
You guys are so 20th century. Get out of here with this.
All right, we will.
Come
Like you
on.
said.
Oh, and
All
the
right.
clock.
And I got it,
and,
and the car. Use sometimes the clocks in your car.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's true.
Yeah, we
Because
just leave our
ours,
clocks alone, and eventually they come back.
yeah, eventually they'll either be ahead
So in
or
October,
Right.
you'll be
yeah.
fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, we'll be fine
Actually,
now.
this one we will be fine
We'll
because
be
ours
fine
is
now. Yeah.
Mhm.
we come up on now being fine.
Because everything is set to East Coast time anyway.
Yeah.
So like, we're good.
Yeah. All right, you all. Well, we're done. So like this has been fun, but we got to run.
Like,
Get
share, and
this up in here
subscribe.
and get
Keep
the
it.
heck out of here.
Keep us in everybody's face. Like, share, and subscribe.
All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you all Sunday the 16th. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.